Good morning, y'all. David Atkins, Target Individual. Today I'm coming out of Dr. Robert Duncan's book, Project Soul Catcher, and I'm going to be talking about psycho bombs, programmed assassins, and terrorist and proxy agent provocateurs, and how there was a program and how this works. Because I will get into that after I start my little Bible thing I do every day, and because I do this because I know there's believers watching, and if you're not a believer, you can fast forward to the information. However, I do this because I know there's believers watching, and this is what works for me. Believing my belief in Christ and the followings of the teachers in Christ. I'm not necessarily religious, but I follow the Bible, and I keep religion and man-made laws and stuff out of it. I go by the Word. Anyway, so I'm going to read something today. I was reading Lamentations, and this is Jeremiah, and he's upset because, he was a prophet for God, and everything he done, even though he was being used for God, he was going through hell. And, I kind of relate that to us targets, even though we're doing good and we're going through hell. So anyway, I'm going to start at Lamentations 3, and I'm going to start at verse 12. He has bent and I'll be going through verse 26. He has bent his bow and set me up as a target for the arrow. And he's talking about God because he's mad at God. He has caused the arrows of his quiver to pierce my loins. I have become the ridicule of all my people, their taunting song all the day. He's filled me with bitterness. He has made me drink wormwood, which is poison. He's also broken my teeth with gravel and covered me with ashes. You have moved my soul far away from peace. I have forgotten prosperity. And then I said, my strength and my hope have perished from the Lord. Remember my affliction and roaming, the wormwood and the gall. My soul still remembers and sinks within me. This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hoped. Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. So see, what this is telling me is very prophetic to me because he's going through hell, and sometimes he's mad at God, and he's saying, well, what you're causing, you know what I'm saying? But in the end, in the last thing, he said, the Lord is good to those who wait. He says that. So even though he's going through hell and getting tortured and all this, he realizes in the end, it's like he's mad at God, but at the same time, he knows it for the good. And I can relate to that, and I hope y'all can too. But anyway, I'm going to get to the information at hand. Okay, right here. Let's see, this needs to be the last page. Okay. And I'm starting with psycho bombs. And this is going into how they can induce mental illness and cause false flag shooters, assassins, and everything. They can do this. And I don't say only the CIA, because this is an article from like Robert Duncan's book, Project Soul Catcher, and it's talking about CIA. But if the CIA has technology to do that, I'm sure there's other organizations and people high up or whoever that can get this stuff and induce a person to do all this stuff themselves. So, I don't like saying it's all the CIA, because if CIA has the technology, I guarantee there's other people that have it. There's people, that's got this technology. So I don't like putting it all on the CIA. No, but that's just me. Okay, inducing mental illness or merely mimicking the symptoms of these behaviors is the objective. Psycho bombs can be turned into Manchurians or programmed assassins. They have many uses that are instrumental in social engineering and manipulation of government laws and media. So, for example, if a social engineer wanted to make guns illegal, they could trigger many psycho bombs at once using guns as their weapon. The public would react to the fear-driven media stories to pass laws against guns. Psycho bombs are also useful in other fear-driven tactics to have the public give up their rights to privacy. Often they are used to distract the media's focus on more pertinent, important stories. The CIA and DoD groups that program minds for these illegal clandestine operations often call themselves Satanists. There are many reasons for that other than just a cover story and confusing the targets. The Satanic Bible speaks of creating scapegoats, patsies, and fall guys. Anyone who writes or speaks about these topics gets attacked by psychobombs who are led to believe that the writer or speaker is a part of the conspiracy that is torturing them. This is why the names of innocent people are protected in this book. Those who are not only speaking about these atrocities and should know about them are the guilty parties. Destabilizing the personality using these methods, creating psychobombs. These can be recognized in people that go postal. Destabilizing the personality years before a programmed assassin or psychobomb is triggered helps to create the track record for use of plausible deniability. The targets of realistic operational simulation missions on random humans usually are discredited in the news as a person with a history of these patterns set forth many decades ago, mimicking mental illness onset. It is partially true that the person has a mind virus, which causes mental illness in these experiments, but what the general public never gets to know is what causes it. There are environmental and genetic factors which can cause disease. Of course, there are natural mental defects arising from life experiences, physical wiring, chemical imbalances, but the newsworthy ones are almost always related to the mind hackers practicing their trade. The objective of creating a psychobomb is to have the host kill and destroy as much of the community and surroundings as possible with no real target. Subjectively, the subject thinks this is the only way for the change and to get media attention of their message. This is a proxy method to create terrorism. Terrorism is used to create change. Psychobombs usually are there to cause mayhem and random acts of mass murder. This allows the program and country not to be called sponsors of terrorism, including domestic, so as to justify more government protection and loss of freedoms. People always follow suit because security is more important than freedom. It is a fundamental algorithm to drive to protect our children and allow our species to exist. These algorithms can be utilized to gain more power and influence too. Depatterning is used to remove all meaning and hope. This is necessary for false flag operations and to create intense meaning, like how suicide bomber programmers use religion or extreme patriotism to convince their constituents. It is about erasing survival instincts. The mind hacking strategy group study how to defuse a psychobomb or at least redirect them towards their true enemies. It is dangerous to create these humans that are about to explode because they can be used by other organizations and governments and then reprogrammed for another mission. Psychobombs can be used to manipulate the public in giving up their gun rights, for example. Could they be used to scare and terrorize the public so that the public is willing to move towards martial law or a police state? What other uses for psychobombs can you think of? Just some food for thought. So this next part is, and I'm not saying everybody that goes out here and shoots stuff up is programmed by the CIA. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying some of them have been, in my opinion, and what I think. And they might have been, and not just the CIA, like I said, if they can mentally induce people with this stuff and make them go, and they can program, anybody can do it. All they got to do is learn what CIA is doing, and then they got the access, then they can do it. Okay. It's easier said than done, yeah, but you got some people that just would love to do that just to say they done it, or got a purpose and need somebody to go do something for them, so they program and do it. Anyway, programmed assassins and other CIA human assets. Programmed assassins were made famous by the movie and book Manchurian Candidate. The basic idea is to make the asset get close to the target, then trigger the asset to assassinate them. One such CIA program was called Artichoke. Project Artichoke looked for subjects that were roughly 35 years old, sociable, and educated. The goal was to have the subjects kill a political leader, including one in the United States, if no others were identified. The size and scope were never revealed, nor the results. No one would ever agree voluntarily to prostitute themselves for an agency that does not pay them. Most people can't kill other people, even in self-defense. Creating a pathological alter personality is one of the major goals of these CIA programs. This is why mostly women are grabbed for trauma-based conditioning or split personalities. Femme fatales are more useful in the spy industry. Only a small percentage of those brutalized go on to become split personalities and further programmed. The idea is to create sociopaths that take commands but are able to traverse most social groups with ease by putting on some charm and require no payment other than the opportunity to do someone else's bidding or against their own will and own knowledge. How are programmed assassins made? The conscious state is split and conditioned with emotions. During one altered torture state, They force visualization of the events that the programmers want done. This is like how athletes visualize their skills over and over before actually performing them. A program assassin is forced to visualize the assassination of their target over and over using different methods taught to them during the program duration. Sleeper agents and assassins are called such because they remain in stasis, zombification, or alter state until they are to be used and triggered when needed. Terrorist sleeper cells operate in a similar manner, except they volunteered for their mission. The word terrorist is just a word, formality. Many U.S. created program soldiers and assassins are used in false flag operations marketed as terrorism by media, or sometimes they go after those that created them. The movie and book series Born Identity illustrates this from a Hollywood viewpoint. The difference between psycho bombs and program assassins is merely the selection of particular acts of destruction or people to kill. The subjective experience for program assassin can be completely different in motive and expected from normal crimes of passion. John Lennon and President Ronald Reagan shooters are examples of program assassins that had no understandable reason for their violent action. Hence, we call them insane. There have been several failed attempts in the past at creating delusional, love-obsessed psycho assassins by the CIA. These never make the news. In fact, these kinds of assassins seem to be more successful at following through with their mission than the artificial hate-induced directed delusion. In addition, the successful mind hack assassins seem to be unaware of the technology and what is controlling their thoughts. The mind hacked projects that are told through biocommunication technology that they are government property never seem to quite be able to get triggered, although many talk about it. The Oklahoma bomber may be the exception. Program assassins are created by the government for a particular target to kill on a hypnotic command, and they're generally not supposed to remember the act after they commit it, using a technique to split their personality and create dissociated alters. This allows them to pass polygraph tests and the like. And I'm not talking about all of them are created by the government. I'm just saying it started out as a government project. Now they're still using it today. I can't say. Somebody is, because you still got shootings going on every now and then. Lots of them. Lots of them lately. And you had two Asian dudes just went off in California simultaneously in the Asian community. What's the chances of two different Asian dudes going off in two different areas? And it was actually three, but they disarmed one before he had started, and some people that were nearby disarmed him. All right, moving on to terrorists. The only real difference between psychoelectronically created terrorists and psycho bombs is that the target is selected for them. A program assassin has specific targets. A mind-hacked terrorist is pointed to a group causing their suffering, and a psycho bomb has no target selected. They choose their own, which are usually neighbors, co-workers, and bosses. Psycho bombs have a strong paranoid personality type played into them. All their fears and suspicions are amplified to the point of delusion, an error that turns into fact in the mind of the hacked. This is quite purposeful, and scripts used by the mind hackers encourage these particular paranoid delusions for creating psycho bombs. Similarly, the mind hack that are turned into terrorists have head games played with them in such a way as to make them think a particular country is behind it. Many examples that have been interviewed and successfully deprogrammed have targeted Russia, China, Iraq, Iran. These mind hacking projects were successfully convinced that these countries were behind their wireless torture. Terrorists created by mind hacking techniques don't differ from the usual understanding, other than the means and indirection that they are created. Voice of God weapons, or I call them voice of Satan, but that's what they call them, voice of God weapons, offer even better means to create them, in addition to radical religious beliefs. The most famous and malicious psychotronic virus is called Satan 666. The rumor said it was released by the Russians, but of course, finger pointing is always used to redirect one disappointment of who is really responsible for the English acronym. One should easily see the Russians are atheists and would not use English acronyms and words with their creations. And he's saying Russians are atheists. I don't know, so I'm not saying that. So don't quote me on saying Russians are all atheists, because I don't think that's true about all of them. In addition, the Satan virus matches the capability of the U.S. defense system called Satan. And I forgot what it stood for. I will try to put that in the description sometime today. Okay, and the last is going to be proxy agent provocators. Proxy agent provocators, my bad. Proxy agent provocators are used to invoke the defensive algorithm of humans or aggressive algorithms for
by a false leader. This creates a counterinsurgent playing into the hands of the provocators. With neurological mind control weaponry, anybody can be used as an agent provocateur. Mind hacking is a torturous process described as a live mental vivisection. The other reason that fake classifications were made up for the DSM manual, or the psychologist with the psychologists classify, was that the Department of Defense needed a way to thwart off attacks by the thousands of human projects that may be seeking to infiltrate their organization seeking revenge. The process of getting a security clearance involves many questions surrounding mental illness symptoms. This is the way to weed out the citizens that were put through the torturous mind hacking program. Enemy combatant is a newer classification that includes any subversives to the government, organizations including targets of this kind of weapon attack. And I'm done. I hope y'all have a good week. We got a lot of good stuff coming up this week. I'm going to try to research. I'm researching TAMI and its thought and mind induction programming. It's a thing that I talked about in one of my other videos, but I only vaguely talked about it, so I'm researching that right now. And, because I want to have all my facts and explain it to a T before I go into it. So anyway, I hope y'all are having a good weekend considering this torture. And thank y'all, and God bless.